Extinct animals that may still exist. In the recent decades, a number of species have been driven to extinction, but largely due to human activity. When someone steals an animal's tusks or a huge game trophy, the tampering can be overt. Additionally, when it is indirect, as in the case of unwelcome land development and the problem of climate change. Scientists must locate animal DNA that is almost wholly intact to properly clone an extinct species. But due to the availability of so-called ancient DNA or genetic material from fossils or artifacts, several species offer significant potential as candidates. Hello everyone and welcome back to Unveiling Wild. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for the latest updates on wild animals and their habitat. With that being said, let's get started. According to some researchers, every year between 0.01% and 0.1% of all species go extinct. There are around 2 million different species on the planet, which means between 200 and 2,000 species per year go extinct. Can a species that has gone extinct return? And if yes, then how? Are researchers working on this? Dinosaurs are brought back to life through cloning in the 1993 movie Jurassic Park after their DNA was discovered to be intact in the stomachs of prehistoric mosquitoes trapped in amber. Numerous scientists think it's just a matter of time until extinct animals start to appear and reappear on Earth, even though the science of cloning is still in its infancy. Examples of ancient DNA sources include recently extinct animals, museum collections and species that were preserved in permafrost during the last ice age. That leaves the question of whether it makes sense, is morally right, is safe, and is cost-effective to revive or resurrect extinct species. Woolly mammoth. It would seem ideal to save woolly mammoths for extinction. There are still many woolly mammoth skeletons in Siberia's permafrost. The genome of the woolly mammoth has been sequenced by paleogeneticists, a field of science that studies conserved genetic material. The study of genome and surviving genetic material has inspired efforts to either clone or modify the DNA of the Asian elephant, the woolly mammoth's closest living relative. Researchers from South Korea and Russia are aiming to revive the Lana horse using cells from a 40,000-year-old foal discovered in Siberia as a first step towards bringing back the mammoth. Despite the passion that many non-scientists and some scientists have for saving the species from extinction, ethical issues still exist. Woolly mammoths were hard-living, gregarious creatures. Before a viable mammoth is born, attempts to save woolly mammoths from extinction may fail numerous times. Using an Asian elephant as a surrogate carrier of this mammoth would be impossible due to the elephant's 22-month gestation period, which also makes it impossible for the elephant to give birth to more members of the critically endangered elephant species. If a woolly mammoth is successfully created, the question of what kind of life it will lead as a lab animal, zoo animal, or a resident of Pleistocene Park, an effort to restore a steppe environment in Russia remains. Tasmanian tiger. The Tasmanian tiger, also known as the thylacine, was a remarkable creature that originated in Australia. It was the largest marsupial carnivore ever discovered. As recently as the 1930s, the animals became extinct, primarily as a result of climate change, bounty hunting, and a lack of genetic variation. After the thylacine genes were put into the mouse's genome, some of the animal's genes were already successfully expressed in a mouse fetus. The main thylacine cloning project, funded by the Australian Museum, came to an end when researchers were unable to collect enough DNA to build a DNA library for the species. Due to its recent extinction, specimens of the animal are still whole and are kept in collection jars. DNA may still be present in certain taxidermy-mounted thylacines displayed in museums. Australian population is very pro-de-extinction, and the animal's nature environment is still there. Baiji River dolphin. The Baiji River dolphin was the first cetacean to become extinct in the modern era as a result of human influence. It was declared functionally extinct in 2007 following a 6-week search for one in 2006. Despite its recent extinction, DNA may still be recovered with age from the remains. There's also debate over whether the Baiji River dolphin would have a place to go after being revived, as this is the case with many extinct species. The dolphin's natural environment, the Yangtze River system, is still quite polluted. Government assistance and funding are currently insufficient to address the problems that caused the dolphins to go extinct in the first place. The production of many things exported to the West, including basic household goods, components and materials for electronics and clothing, results in industrial pollution. The massive volume of plastics that the West exported to China for recycling was another source. In 2018, China outlawed their imports. Japanese wolf. It's possible that the extinct Japanese wolf, Canis lupus hodophylax, descended from the same extinct grey wolf pollution in East Asia that gave rise to the contemporary dog. To determine where the species fits the canine evolutionary tree, researchers sequenced the genomes of lion specimens. The last one was euthanized in 1905 of the species. The findings, which have not yet been subjected to peer review, indicate that the Japanese wolf is unique among all other wolves in that it is most closely connected to an ancestor of dogs. It was one of the two subspecies, the other being the Hokkaido wolf that was discovered in the Japanese archipelago, in contrast to the Hokkaido wolf, which belonged to the lineage of the contemporary grey wolf. Phylogenetic data suggested that Japanese wolf was the last wild member of the Pleistocene wolf lineage and may have been the closest wild relative to the domestic dog. Due to the previous hybridization, many canine breeds with Japanese wolf DNA exist today. Despite having a lengthy history of respect in Japan, the subspecies' water was eventually completely eradicated by the early 20th century due to measures implemented during the Meiji Restoration that resulted in persecution and final annihilation of the subspecies. It has been hypothesized that several well-documented observations of canids during the 20th and the 21st centuries are wolves that have survived. Because of contextual and behavioral factors, there is still uncertainty about their identity. Mexican grizzly bear. Smaller than the North American and Canadian brown bears, female bears are smaller and weigh less than males, who can weigh up to 315 kilograms. It was about 180 centimeters long. The bear's color ranged from a soft buff yellow to a grizzled gray or white that appeared silver in direct sunshine, giving rise to its Mexican moniker, El Oso Plateado, the silver bear. The northern Mexican territory, notably the northern savanna and mountain forests, as well as the northern New Mexico and Arizona in the United States, were home to the Mexican grizzly bear. It additionally evolved to endure the harsh environments of the Sonoran Desert and canyon lands, temperate grasslands, and mountain pine woods. Probably has a natural life expectancy of about 25 years in the wild. Cow farmers began to view the bears as pests as cattle farming spread over the Mexican brown bear's territory, and they began to capture, shoot, and poison the animals. Early in the 20th century, conditions gradually deteriorated. By the early 1930s, the subspecies had become scarce. In the end, only the remote highlands of Cerro Campano, Santa Clara, and Sierra del Nido remained in their range, and by 1960, it was estimated that just 30 bears or fewer survived. Even though bears were protected, there was still unreported hunting and harassment. These subspecies were extinct by 1969, most likely earlier. There have occasionally been reports of sightings of solitary animals, and Trevino and Jonkel released a study in 1980 suggesting that grizzly bears may still be present in Mexico. There have been no other verified sightings, although the North American grizzlies found far further north. There have been a few confirmed sightings in southern Colorado. Grizzly sightings have increased throughout the formerly Mexican grizzly range. In those places, grizzlies are undoubtedly present. There are Mexican grizzlies, that is the only question. 15 years after the extinction date, in 1979, a study discovered grizzly tracks and claw marks in Mexico. The research revealed that distant Mexico made for a real grizzly bear habitat. Eastern cowgirl. The eastern cowgirl was officially declared extinct in 2011, which is strange given the countless sightings there have been sightings since the 2011 announcement, and they have occurred in almost every East Coast states. There are entire websites devoted to sightings in particular states. A cowgirl that wasn't here was seen and photographed by residents of New Hampshire. Additionally, there are footprints scattered for all the signs of a non-extinct animal. It doesn't appear to be all that rare to still witness eastern cowgirls. So, what are your views on this? Did you know about this list? And what if these animals didn't become extinct? Well, this brings us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed watching it, then do like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insightful content from us. We'll see you at the next one. Until then, peace.